truth in my veins. As I slide on my shades, wore a scarf, shoulda David hanging from my chain. The world say we strange. Teach you how to change. One West, waking brothers up from the grave. Truth in my veins. As I slide on my shades, wore a scarf, shoulda David hanging from my chain. The world say we strange. Teach you how to change. One West, waking brothers up from the grave. Hey, remember this, man. One West, one West, one West. Hey, remember this, man. One West, one West, one West. Hey. Under Commander General Yohana, you understand? We out to bring nothing but the truth. All you perpetrators out there, man, be ready to be destroyed out there, man. We out here standing for our people. One West, man, 1969. ISUPK. No cowards, no excuses.
There's nothing I can say to make you believe. Yeah. Man, ain't nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say to make you believe. To make you believe. What if I told you that I was the son of God? Would that be easy to believe, or would you make it hard? And I finally learned the difference between wise and smart. When I say we bless people, they say times is hard. And all I can tell them is they ain't never lied. Reincarnated, I'm back like I ain't never died. Man, I won't say it if it can't be verified. Niggas say they soldiers, when war starts, they terrified. I'm about to let it ride, bringing back the pride of black skin, cause they ain't got a clue what's happening. And we still being punished from back then. How we gon' make a change when we too busy adapting? Buckle your seatbelts, make sure you strapped in. They showed us the trap, so now my people trapped in. Cause everything we wanted to be, they said we couldn't be it. I told them we was chosen people, they just couldn't see it. Yeah. Yeah. And it ain't nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say to make them believe. To make you believe. Keep hearing footsteps in the dark, and my dogs gon' bite while the rest of y'all barking. Moving at the speed of light while y'all parking in that water with sharks. I ain't scared, I'm a dolphin. It ain't no talking, boy, we all action. Trying to build a nation, but them hoes is distracting. With that twerking on the pole in the back bins. Put on some clothes, set some goals, we can rap then. And we ain't never been the same since the crack came. Selling poison just to give it to the Jack name. They promote the lifestyle through the rap game. Flood the hood with it, then tell you it's a black thing. They really need God, but they call idols. How these gents 14 with assault rifles? They waiting for better days. Now can I paraphrase? Niggas will kill their own brother for a pair of J's. And it ain't nothing I can say. It's nothing I can say to make you believe. To make you believe. Let me say it anyway.
Outside, you in the crib, but the boy outside, I get it on outside. From the dust to the dawn outside. So in the morning outside, I'm catching wreck when they drawing outside. Cause it's a war outside, my sword drawn outside. This Excalibur, you better be all outside. Cause it's a war outside, I get it on outside. You in the crib, but the ball outside, I get it on outside. And that's a definite, cannonball, wrecking shit, excellent. Rhyme Barack and bombing like the president. I remain strong, King Kong with the prevalence. I show you exactly what we do, that's how I represent. Hardcore, heaven sent, chain on, hella bent. Throwing all black when they spot me like the leopard print. Oh, I got the braids in, shades on, made men. Cause we put in work to stop the earth until they cave in. Walk strong, talk heavy, hold my own. You rock solid when we bout to lead the sword to stone. Nigga, we warriors, hardcore, tracking the pride. To let the Hebrew speak, nigga, general eyes. And we talkin' super heavy, nigga, that's a surprise. With all scripture, street talk, word to Captain the God. Nigga, we blazing, ripping the mic with all facts. Doing the knowledge to the max, till we cracking the pavement. UPK out of one West Harlem, nigga. We spring forward and they falling like it's autumn, nigga. Talking to all them niggas born in the mud. If you ain't feeling this, you're cold unplugged, and that's real. Oh, I get it, cat tie, war, they not of our kind. I get the order, then it's handle kind, not the one kind. Without a doubt in my mind, I'm finna stop and recline. Anybody that come against us, they should probably resign. Cause it's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. I hate these niggas throwing shots, but can they take some? Christ says, sell out your garments to get a sword now. I'ma go and sell off these polos to get a 4-pound.
What's going on, Israel? The ISUPK history class is clapping up. Let's get this thing started, man. We got wars going on outside. We're gonna go into a little bit of that. And we're gonna go into the lies of our enemies, man. The lies, which is called propaganda. We're gonna get into a little bit of the history of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on with the presentation, McDonald's, and skip down a couple pages. No, matter of fact, let's go to the next.
Hannibal Barker.
Yeah. Hannibal Barker, Punic War. Somebody asked me a question about that a little while ago, so we're gonna hit that before we go into the propaganda. But people asked me, was Hannibal Lecter a black man? Was he a black man like us, one of us?
Barker.
And he was not one of us.
Barker. Hannibal Barker.
Right.
You said Hannibal Lecter.
I said Hannibal Lecter. No, I'm tripping. Not Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal Barker. We ain't talking about Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Barker. You know what I'm saying? Hannibal Barker was a general from the Punic Wars. This was a war with Rome. All right, Hannibal Barker was the famous general that traversed the Alps on the backs of elephants. You can go to the next one. And he was the famous general that went all the way through the Alps on elephant back. He took a troop of elephants with him, lost a lot of his men just getting through the Alps. But once he got to Rome, he was able to enlist some of the tribal people around Rome that hated Rome. And he was able to take on Rome for many years. He did some spectacular things, but he was not a Negro. You go to the next one. He was not one of us. He was an African. And a lot of times we try to take the glory and the history of the people of the indigenous people of Africa. But we can show you exactly where this guy's from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
On the other side of Israel.
Right.
And he was one of the people that vexed us in our land once we got there. They mentioned them in the Bible. I'm gonna have to get that scripture. We can go to the next one. We're gonna show the difference between us and him. So Hannibal stems from the people of Ham. All right, the indigenous Africans. We came into the continent. You just say of Africa. People say, "Well, Israel was on the continent of Africa," but that's not where we were from. We came into that land and took that land.
Right.
You know, from the indigenous African people who were there, which is why the Lord said, "Don't deal with the people round about you." We originally come from a land called Ur, where Abraham actually came from. But we are not in any way related to the indigenous people of Africa.
Right.
And, you know, the dark races are old and married, and we are part of the dark races, but we're not related to them. All right, so you can read that.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
All right, so right here is telling you that we stemmed from a different genealogy than they did. Even though we look similar to some of the indigenous people of Africa, this was the reason why they couldn't tell Moses apart from the Egyptians, because when we dressed in Egyptian garb, we looked similar to them. Dark-skinned, woolly-haired people. The Egyptians are described that way. You understand? By text, ancient texts, they're described as mid-height, dark-skinned, woolly-haired people. The same way Israel is described.
Right.
So we look fairly similar to them, but we are not them. And that's what we tell, you know, the people that push that timid and that African love and all that. We're not the same people. You're including a people that you're not a part of.
Right.
A people that hate us, that they absolutely despise us. They don't work with us. You understand? They don't show us any love when they come here. They do the exact same thing that every other ethnic group of people do. They come together and they serve themselves and they exploit us. The only time they really want to talk about our pain and what we go through here is when they want something. Is when they want a business, or they want opportunity, or they want to use our pain to get opportunity.
Right.
From white folks or whoever they want to get it from. But they're not us. They're not us, man. And what is that scripture? One second. We got a scripture about them, and I think it is, and what is it? Joel 3 and 4. Let's get that.
Come on, concert.
The Punic Wars was between Carthagena and Rome. Hannibal was a Carthaginian general who opposed Rome. He had a lot of victories in Italy. He fought them on their own ground. He did some, amazing things. Eventually, he ended up losing his life, actually, years later. But we wrongly attribute his successes with Rome to ours. While we were in Israel, there were groups of people that opposed us, like Tyre and Zidon. Tyre and Zidon was what the Carthaginians would have been in the Bible. They were the people that opposed us just like the Philistines. That they were round about us.
Right.
And you got that scripture?
Come, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Joel chapter 3, verse 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?
The Lord said, what the hell do you have to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? These are not our people. They're not our people, and they have nothing to do with the Lord. You know, if the Lord loved everybody, why is he saying, what the hell do you have to do with me? Read on.
And all the coast of Palestine, will ye render me recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head.
You render me recompense? You understand? For what's been done to my people? Because any people that trespass against Israel, they got to get recompense. You understand? And the Lord did not deal with these people, man. And swiftly did he destroy them in our way. Why? Because he showed his love for us. He showed his love for us when he destroyed Egypt. You know, the country that we talk about and try to love so much. But we were slaves there.
Right.
We were slaves in that land. After we built that land up, we were shepherds in that land. We fed those people. Shepherd kings, man. We grew the land. They had no appreciation for that. Joseph saved their life and grew their empire into an abundance of riches when a famine hit everywhere. And he had the Pharaoh to save 7 years of wheat, man, to deal with this famine. They became wealthy beyond belief. They didn't care. They destroyed us, oppressed us, and enslaved us anyway. All of those people. So no, Hannibal is not one of us, and his successes, which is really a loss, because at the end, he lost against Rome. And let the Romans get a foothold in Carthagena, and from there they was able to take the rest of Africa. They was able to run through it. And you know who took Carthagena? Scipio Africanus. Africanus was the general that eventually went back to Carthagena and took it. And that's why it's named Africa, because they are the people that name continents and cities and towns and streets, you know, behind themselves. So Africa is called Africa because of Leo Scipio Africanus. All right? And if this fool could have stopped him, you know, maybe it wouldn't have took over. But no, he is not a part of it. There's nothing to do with it. Let's move on. So now we're going to go into the propaganda. And I thought it appropriate because the war that's going on right now, and we listen to the news, we listen to the CNN, and we hear this, what they're saying. They're saying it's an unprovoked war, it's a humanitarian disaster, that Putin is a madman, and Putin is a strong man and an oligarch, and these people are so evil, and they're doing all these evils to the people in Ukraine, and they're losing at the same time.
Right.
So pay attention. They're losing at the same time. That is evil empire, and they're losing at the same time, but America is sending $1 billion a day over there. Every time you turn it around, they're sending $1 billion weaponry to stop this evil Putin that has attacked Ukraine unprovoked.
Right.
Those are lies. Those are propaganda for the war effort. Because this is what they do. It's not only a war of arms. You don't understand your enemy, black man. We don't understand what these people are. They don't only fight on the battlefield. They fight for the minds of the people. All of that news you getting is propaganda, just like the people in Russia are getting propaganda from Putin.
Right.
It's a whole different story in Russia. Now, to get to the truth, you gotta have some type of common sense to get to the truth. Why did Putin attack? Because the security of his country.
Exactly.
NATO is taking over the Baltic states. Ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, they've been plying them with all kinds of money, all kinds of good living. They've been plying these Baltic states, and they've been signing them up to NATO, and they've been bringing their armed forces all the way up to the doorstep of Russia. I think the Ukraine and Belarus about the last vestiges of the Baltic states that the old Soviet Union used to have. So if they take, and NATO is able to sign the Ukraine, well then America would have armed forces right on the doorstep of Russia that shares thousands of miles worth of border with the Ukraine, so they could attack without warning. Russia didn't like that.
Right.
They asked the Ukraine not to sign with NATO. The Ukraine said, no, we're not going to make any promises like that. So he went to war. Why couldn't the Ukraine just sign and say, no, we're not going to join NATO?
Right.
There would be no war. There would be no war, and we wouldn't have to pay more for gas. I don't want to pay more for gas because the people in Ukraine have pride. And you can tell by the pride because Zelensky said out of his own mouth, the Secretary of State of the United States was going over to the Ukraine under danger of fire. And I ain't saying none of these devils are honorable. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, the American people are sacrificing, especially black people. We can't afford to pay more for gas. Any little thing, brings, a lot of us are fragile in this economy. It brings us crashing down, man. And everything is going up because of this war in Ukraine. You understand? Zelensky said out of his own mouth to the Secretary of State and on national TV, don't come over here empty-handed. We don't want to hear, we want specific things. Come and give us.
Right.
Like people are not sacrificing for these people. Billions of dollars a day. Flint, Michigan still don't have clean water. But they can get billions of dollars in packages all the way to the other side of the world, to Ukraine. Black homesteaders and farmers still don't have their land back.
Right.
The 65 million that Biden promised the homesteaders and the black farmers of America, they still haven't got that. They got to wait for court legislation because white people are saying it violates their civil rights that black farmers get something. Where were they when they were burning our cities and our towns down? Was that violating our civil rights?
Right.
But we still don't have anything. But the Ukraine gets $1 billion a day. You understand?
Right.
We just trying to see what's going on here. Listen listen how the propaganda works. Oh, they're suffering. They show individual stories of individual families. They're suffering. They're refugees. Well, they're being murdered and shot in the back. Well, Russia was doing that in Yemen. Shooting them, gassing them with chemical warfare. Nobody said nothing.
Right.
Where is it with the Ukraine why their humanity is important? We all know why. We all know why their humanity is important. They said Russia, they're criminals and oligarchs and strong men. And we're not going to do business with them. Well, why were you doing business with them in the first place? Why was America buying gas and oil they didn't need to buy from Russia? Why? Because Biden is an oligarch and a strong man. That's why. Because they're both the same criminals. Because America did the same thing in Cuba, in Panama, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. You understand? In Ethiopia. Same thing. They went into these countries, took over, put a government in there that was friendly to them. They murdered the populace. They went over to Iraq and murdered everybody in the square. And America hired mercenaries to go over there, and they end up shooting everybody in the square, innocent civilians. Nobody sanctioned America. Nobody did that. At Guantanamo Bay, they tortured people. They tortured and tortured. Look, man. They the same people doing the same damn things. The only difference is the propaganda that they spew, which are all lies. Anyways. All lies anyway. They say Russia is losing. All their tanks is being blown up. Well, why are we giving Ukraine $1 billion? I don't mean we. Well, why is white America giving white Ukraine billions of dollars every day if the Russian army is losing? They can't be winning and losing at the same time. Oh, we got to get that over there in such a hurry. It's in such a demand because they're suffering. Did they care about the suffering of human beings when Russia was doing the same thing in Yemen? No, they didn't. Let's read what propaganda is.
The history of propaganda. The fact that wars give rise to intensive propaganda campaigns has made many persons suppose that propaganda is something new and modern. The word itself came into common use in this country as late as 1914, when World War I began. The truth is, however, that propaganda is not new and modern. Nobody would make the mistake of assuming that it is new if, from early times, efforts to mobilize attitudes and opinions had actually been called propaganda. The battle for men's minds is as old as human history.
That's why we wrap our halfway. That's why propaganda is so deep. It's so deep because you're dealing with the hearts and the minds of the people. If you don't rile the people up for war, if you don't have a bad guy, if you don't have a Satan, people tend not to want to sacrifice just for no goddamn reason. All right, our oppressor has learned this throughout history, and he has defined that propaganda with such vigor. I mean, they have propaganda offices, propaganda departments. You understand me? Every president has one. A propaganda department, a spokesperson, a person who puts out the propaganda. They say Trump had massive amounts of people that will put out all kinds of lies and misinformation, man. They called it the death dome or something. What did they call that? What's that big spaceship in Star Wars?
Oh, you talking about the
big planet they go around?
the Death Star.
The Death Star, that's what the Death Star or something like that. You understand? They come up with all kinds of lies and misinformation. That's what they're about. During World War II, Hitler had a propaganda minister. His name was Joseph Goebbels. And Joseph Goebbels' job was to make Hitler look like a hero. Hitler looked like a hero in Germany. Even though he was murdering and exterminating and raping and pillaging and killing all around the world, in Germany they cheered him as a hero because of propaganda.
Right.
He had a minister on top of it. And Joseph Goebbels was good at his job. Very good at his job. It's like Stalin had one as well. Propaganda is very important to America. America has a left-wing propaganda machine and a right-wing propaganda machine. They've gotten more divisive lately, but they are a propaganda machine. Before we get the second part of that, give me Ephesians 2:2 real quick.
Okay, sir. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. Where in times past ye walked according to the course of the world.
In times past, we walked according to the world. Well, according to the propaganda of the world that said to black people, you're criminals, you're drug addicts. You understand? You're thugs. You live the real life that the rappers are rapping about. That's the propaganda we get every day.
Right.
We think it's cool, it's tough, it's bout it, to have that raw, to have a key. You understand? To do crime, to be tough on the street, to have a wreck. We'll kill or hurt somebody for a wreck. And then go and talk about it and end up going to jail for a wreck. What makes us do that? Propaganda, man. Propaganda. It is the reason why they have the rappers rapping about these things. It's the reason why they make movies showing us in a heroic way doing evil
Right.
to our people. Come on, name me a movie, McDonald. What was that one about dollars? Paid in full.
Paid in full.
You know what I'm saying? Juice. It's a million of them. I don't know why. Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? The hero is really the disgusting drug dealer, the bad guy.
Right.
And we're looking at the hero. And we're saying, this is the good guy, the drug dealer. That's getting paid, that's making the money, that's hurting girls, getting black women hooked on crack, destroying and killing, and we think he's the hero. This is propaganda. And we walk according to that world until we came into UPK and learned that these are lies, man. This is not our culture. Balling ain't our culture. Hustling, yeah. The Bible talks about that. That Jake is a hustler, but Jake is not a criminal. Jake is not a criminal. When I say Jake, I'm talking about black men.
Right.
According to the Bible. Go ahead.
According to the prince of the power of the air.
According to the prince of power of the air. The airwaves. What are the airwaves, man? The radio, the internet, all your social media, all of that is twisted so that we fall into decay, so that we fall into sin. The Christian church was erected to tell us that we don't have to do what God says. That's the whole mythology of the Christian church. That his laws are done away with and we don't have to do it. You can't do it. They say you can't do it. But Christ said, not only can you do it, you must. Christ said, be ye perfect. Why would you say be perfect if we couldn't? It don't mean don't make mistakes. Perfect means following God's, the Father's law, statutes, and commandments. That's what that means. Regardless of the propaganda. Rome did the same thing in the era of Christ. They were saying he was God then. They were saying that back in his day that he was God. And all this type of funky stuff, man. And then start making him a white man and a homosexual and all of these type of nasty, disgusting things, man. But this is propaganda. The Renaissance era was propaganda to make white seem normal, to make white the priests and the prophets. The priest could not be white. The priest had to be an Israelite. But it's propaganda. And we live strictly off of those lies. You gotta dump them lies, man.
Right.
Go ahead and read, brother.
The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
That spirit of that propaganda works in us, man. It works. It works. Propaganda works. You understand? We covet what we see. Our enemy shows us images online, on the TV. And these are things we then sought to be. We need money. And we get that money in a nasty, disgusting, vile way, man. But that doesn't matter. The ends justify. Read on, brother.
Let me go to the next script. Verse 3. Among whom also we all had our conversation in times past, in the lust of our flesh.
Good night. We are living in the lust of our flesh. We live every day in the lust of that flesh, man. Whenever we think we can be homosexuals and have deviant sexual relationships that we are not supposed to have. Everything is about feelings. No one wants to think about what's moral and what's right. Nobody wants to think about what God wants. Only what the flesh desires. I want to have sex with her and throw her away. I just want to have sex with her. I'll do anything to get that, and then I throw her away. It's all about what the flesh wants and not what God wants.
Right.
And that's how we live. And the main thing that's pushing us in that direction is the propaganda of our enemy. And he hates us, man. His whole job is to get us to sin, and he's good at it. The devil is very good at it. And he's not a red man under the ground. He's a red man that meets you at work every day and makes sure you on time. Go ahead, brother.
fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind.
Come on, man. We long to fulfill that propaganda. We dream about fulfilling it, about becoming a kingpin.
Right.
We dream about becoming a porn star, sliding on that pole, making a whole lot of money. It don't matter who it hurt. It don't matter this sister got 5 kids, you're going to sell her that anyway. You're going to sell it to her anyway. And it don't even matter. And you're going to trick with her anyway. And it don't even matter. As long as your flesh is fulfilled. Because that's what the world wants. But don't nobody want to have character. Don't nobody want to have morality. Nobody wants to listen to God. Go ahead, Bethune.
And were by nature the children of wrath, even as others.
These people hate us day and night, man. They hate us day and night. We actually want to please the people who hate us. How do we know they hate us? They speak against us day and night. Their whole culture is designed around hating us. Look, I'm not making this stuff up. Look, they had postcards of slain black people with their genitals cut off, whole families hanging on trees, told you to come out and have a picnic. I mean, pick a nick to hang.
Right.
Saying that the black man, woman, or child did something was just the procedure. They didn't do anything, especially anything be deserving of a torturous death, to be burned and hung and mauled. These people hate us, man. They have propaganda for centuries. They make little toys, little babies in alligators' mouths, little pickaninnies being eaten by alligators. That's our babies. Their folk culture, their culture was built around blackface. Their songs, those Christmas songs you like to sing, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, they're talking about a slave and the bells around the neck of the slave. Man, their whole culture revolves around it. Even words like picnic. Man, good. Let's get back to the definition of propaganda.
The history of propaganda, paragraph 2. In the ancient Asiatic civilization preceding the rise of Athens as a great center of human culture, the masses of the people lived under despotism, and there were no channels or methods for them to use in formulating or making known their feelings and wishes as a group. In Athens, however, the Greeks who made up the citizen class were conscious of their interests as a group and were well informed on the problems and affairs of the city-state to which they belonged. Differences on religious and political matters matters gave rise to propaganda and counter-propaganda. The strong-minded Athenians, though lacking such tools as the newspaper, the radio, and movies, could use other powerful engines of propaganda to mold attitudes and opinions. The Greeks had games, the theater, the assembly, the law courts, and religious festivals, and these gave opportunity for propagandizing ideas and beliefs. The Greek playwrights made use of drama for their political, social, and moral teachings. Another effective instrument for putting forward points of view was oratory, in which the Greeks excelled. And though there were no printing presses, handwritten books were circulated in Greek world in efforts to shape and control the opinions of men.
This is all about controlling the opinions of men. This is what Facebook does, Twitter does. You ever notice that you get on your phone, pop up, if you express interest in something democratic, it'll push you further towards something democratic, or it'll push you further towards something from the right. This is how the algorithms are set up in your social media. Forces you to think in a certain way, man. It pushes you to think in a certain way by targeting you and giving you articles to read and different types of propaganda that feeds a specific mindset that they want you to have. This is the control that they have on us, man. This is why they create these things. They create software packages scientifically. Bro, look. They use psychologists to design these software packages. I'm in the business, I know. This programming is very serious. This is why Congress is involved with Facebook, Twitter, and all of these other companies, man. Because they have control over the people. This is why Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter right now. Why? He's the richest man in the world. To spend $46 billion on Twitter? Why? Because Twitter reaches the minds of so many people. You can now influence the way people think. And they have thousands upon hundreds of thousands upon millions of hours of studying the way we think. That's how they are able to get black folks from high school directly into prison. They know the way we think. They feed us content that pushes us in the direction they want us to go, which is prison. They use our culture. They use music to influence us. Everything about black music is negative. Everything. Because they need more slaves. Come on, man. Was that the end of that definition?
Yeah, that was the end of that.
What you got there? The Coliseum?
Coliseum.
The Coliseum, where we used to fight and wrestle naked for the Greeks. And when we realized that the Greeks were nothing but oppressors, they were exploiting us, killing us, and pushing us to think in a certain way. We had no business thinking. We then went to the Romans to get the Greeks out. And the Romans did the same thing. It's like my thumb, it's like going from the Democrats to the Republicans. The Democrats destroying us, mass incarcerating us, throwing dope in our community. We go to the Republicans for help. Maybe it's something different here.
Right.
Only they can't come in our streets because the Republicans are so racist against us.
Right.
there's another scripture I'm looking for, and you can move on with the presentation. I'm mad that I'm not.
First Maccabees.
No, not First Maccabees. Now you looking at a gladiator right here. But we thought gladiators were white. Why did we think that? Because the pictures coming out of the era, which were fake, a lot of them were from the Renaissance. So on that, like it was only white folks in Europe at the time. No,
right.
That is not the case. There's Israelites there in the Circus Maximus, the Circus Maximus. You understand? Fighting as gladiators, entertaining the same way we do now. The same way we the champion boxers, the football players,
right.
The basketball players, we was doing the same things back in the Coliseum then. That's how you can get through the lies and the propaganda and understand who we really are. And we keep over and over and over again going into these people's societies, going into their cultures and being destroyed over and over again. The Bible tells us not to do that, not to go into the society of these people. We do it anyway. We love their lives. You understand? Let's get go back to you can move forward with the presentation.
Look at some gladiators.
That's gladiators right there. That's your gladiators. They're the same people that fought in the gladiatorial arenas back then. The same exact people. You understand? Give me Genesis 2 and 15. 2 and 15. I think it's 2.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Genesis 2 and 15.
You sure? This is where we really get exploited at right here.
Genesis 3 and 1. Genesis 3 and 1.
Come, sir.
Yeah, we get exploited
Really?
in those sports. We are basically slaves, man.
Right.
Because all of those fights Mike Tyson was in, he ended up losing all of his wealth anyway. You understand? End up losing his goddamn mind with drugs and whatever else. It destroys us. But that's what all of it is. It's a fantasy. And propaganda is just a fantasy, man. We never thrive as a people in their society, ever. As an individual, sometimes. Some of us may live a little as individuals, but if you don't have the protection and the peace of your people, what have you really got? Because at the end of the day, they can take it from you anyway.
Right.
Because you have no power to extract justice from these people. You left all your people behind. They can't help you. They're poor. You know, you gotta be OJ to find this type of stuff out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We move on with the presentation. But you got that Genesis.
Come, sir. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field.
Good night Almighty. It's talking about this serpent being more subtle. You can't say an animal is subtle. It takes thought for subtlety. You understand? This animal here is a people.
Right.
This is a people. And he's more subtle. He's more disgusting than the other animals of the forest. But it's not saying that they're not subtle. All of them are subtle too. But this particular one, he's more subtle. He's the one that tells a black woman to just get an abortion so that you can have a career. Understand? So you can get a better job. You're not ready to have a child right now. Black woman killing your child does not advance you. It is not a come up to murder your child. That's propaganda. This serpent is more subtle than any other people. He creates propaganda machines. That's what CNN is. That's what the news channels are, man.
That's right.
That's what the radio is. Social media. All of that is designed to get you to think the way they want us to think so that we act the way they want us to act. And what do they want us to do? Sin. They want us to sin against our God so that they can live in paradise. And we die in the ghetto. That's the point. We don't understand the point, my son.
That was
We don't get the whole imagery, the whole point of life in America. The whole point is to get God to turn his back on black people. Read on.
which Yahweh our power had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, have God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
Look, man, that God made him that way. He made our oppressor that way. And he did it for a reason. Because if we won't listen to the Lord, we want to listen to this devil's propaganda. He put the devil in front of us in the flesh to suffer underneath every time we go looking and listening to his propaganda. We should be questioning every goddamn thing that come on the news, every goddamn thing that's on social media. We should be researching and finding out the truth.
I got a precept to that last scripture
Yes, sir.
that last one. That's Micah chapter 4 verse 11. Now also many nations are gathered against thee that say, let her be defiled. Like you were saying, they want us to sin against the Most High. You understand? So that our eyes can look upon Zion. They getting paid off of all of this sinning that we doing against the Most High. You understand? We blending, we merging with them, we marrying them. Everything that's happening to us that we doing against the Most High is benefiting them. Their eyes are looking upon Zion. They looking upon us as we are gifts from God to them, you know?
So they prosper.
They prosper.
Off of our sin.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn, tell them again.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Micah chapter 4, verse 11. Now also many nations are gathered against thee.
These are the beasts of the field. These are the beasts that he's talking about in Genesis.
Right.
These nations, these are the beasts that are gathered against us, man. Read.
That say, let her be defiled.
Good night. Let them be defiled. Let them be drug addicts and drug dealers.
Right.
Let them be thugs and yos. Let them be slicksters.
Let them murder each
and
other.
Murderers. Good night, man. The biggest murderer and torturer on the earth is doing his thing right now in the Ukraine.
Right.
But all we can see is empathy and sympathy for the people over there. We can't see that this is the murderer of the earth, and he's murdering his own.
Right.
He charges us with black on black crime. This white on white crime has affected the entire earth. People can't eat because of white on white crime. Am I lying with them? The Ukraine is one of the biggest producers of wheat. Their crop didn't go to market this year because the Russians are murdering and tying their hands behind their back and torturing them and killing them.
Right. Hope.
So people in different countries, they can't eat because of Russia's murder, because of white on white crime. But they charge us.
Right.
Who suffers for black on black crime? Everybody prospers. Black people go to jail and slave in prisons.
Right.
Everybody prospers. The state get to take the property, the car, and every goddamn thing else the prisoner had. You've been selling dope all your life, the government take every goddamn thing. Put you in prison. Everybody prospers. But when white on white crime happens, you're talking about people starving. It upsets the actual food distribution in the earth and fuel distribution. You had something about it?
That was it. But it was powerful that you brought that out, you know what I mean? And like I said, all of this stuff is lining up. And the thing about it is these are the things that we're going through today, you know? And just like the scripture said, because our people don't understand the Bible and because we don't know, we destroy for a lack of knowledge, you know? And, you know, we always say we got to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, that commanding General Yohana held so tight to, back when, you know what I mean? So we've been blessed.
He could have said the hell with it.
Yeah, he could have.
He could have said, let me go relax.
Yep. Since everybody else took off, let me take off too.
Let me put my sword down.
Right.
Man. Just relax for a couple years, I get back to it. He didn't do that. That's why I respect Commanding General Yohana at the utmost.
Right.
He didn't need nobody to co-sign what he was doing.
Not at all.
Man, that is a mandate from the Lord.
Right.
And nobody gonna tell me different. That was an excellent precept.
Right.
An excellent precept to show who's the beast of the field and who the devil really is. You can't deny it.
Right.
Let's get back to that Genesis though. 3 and 2, I think.
3 and 1. You want me to go to 2? Go on to 2. Genesis chapter 3, verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. Verse 3.
So Eve know what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Negro, you know what the hell you supposed to do.
Right.
But you want to do what feels good. Just like the sister. She wanted to do what felt good to her.
Right.
She wanted to do what her flesh wanted her to do. Her curiosity. She wanted to learn something that she shouldn't have been learning. She wanted to learn good and evil. She wanted to know about that. See, there was no reason to learn the punishments of God's law. There was no reason to know that. Because nobody was breaking his law. So there was no reason to learn to obtain this fruit. It's a metaphor, man. It's not a goddamn apple, bro.
Right.
It's a metaphor. All right? There was no reason to obtain this fruit, this knowledge. The Lord didn't want that. And she knew it. But she enticed her husband anyway.
Right.
That's what we do every goddamn day. We know. Sisters know that abortion is not right.
Yep.
They might parrot what the oppressor, what white folks say. It's just cells. The heart not beating yet, so it's not alive. Something that grows is alive, bro. You're made of cells. Can I destroy your cells? You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, man. God damn. I mean, if that baby is in the uterus and it's growing, it's not dead.
Exactly.
Dead things don't grow, bro.
Right.
It don't have to have a heartbeat. It's using the heart of the mother
There you go.
to move and push the blood. So are you telling me people with an artificial heart are not alive? That I can kill them? If I drive down the street, see somebody with an artificial heart, hit them with my car and kill them, I'm not guilty of murder? And this is what's so sick and simple and stupid about this society. If you kill a mother, if you murder a mother and she's pregnant, you also get charged for the death of the baby.
Right.
Why are you being charged for the death of the baby if it ain't alive?
Right.
You don't understand how brainwashed we are in this place, bro. You had something?
No, you hit it. You already hit it. You hit it.
Well, we had it's 8:30. We gonna go ahead.
8:40.
Let's go
8:40.
on with the
8:40.
Now look at this serpent here, man. That is the serpent. See, we in our mind, we have the idea of a snake, Matone.
Right.
A snake on a tree whispering to Eve. Animals don't talk. Snakes don't talk. Snakes don't reason. Snakes are not subtle. They're simply an animal.
Right.
Things were not different in biblical times than they are today. That's a lie. It was him that whispered in that black woman's ear just like he does today. That black man ain't gonna be there for you. I give you a Section 8. I give you a Section 8. But he can't live in there with you. He can't live there with you. You can live better than some white people live. I've seen Section 8 houses that look a lot better than where I live.
Right.
You understand? They look real nice. A lot better, and I ain't been doing nothing but working since I was 16. Hard and long. But this devil can whisper to our sisters and say, I'm going to give you this if you do this. lies, man. It talks about this serpent. It talks about him in Revelations. This same serpent that was a liar, a belly-crawling, lying piece of garbage, is now powerful. Is now a powerful dragon. It's not Games of Thrones, man. It is a parable. He was a liar with no physical power. Now he has intercontinental ballistic weapons. He has centrifuge weapons. He has M16s and tanks. You understand? He has mastered the science of war and murder, destruction, pillaging, and mayhem. He has designed it and mastered the intricacies
Right.
of every part of oppression and destruction. That's him. That image is not wrong. The one you got in your head about a snake and some red man under the ground with horns, that's Roman Greco mythology and propaganda, bro.
Right.
Mythology is propaganda. All right. Let's move on, brother. What is it, 42? If there's no questions online, we're gonna end it out. What's that right there, bro?
Black Israel, behold the black people who wrote the Bible.
The black people who wrote the Bible.
From the British Museum.
Now, this image right here is in the British Museum, right?
Right.
It's showing a depiction of the true, actual Israelites. Black people didn't make this image. White people didn't make this image. You know who it was, Mattel, that made that image? The people who were enslaving us at the time, the Assyrians.
Right. Okay.
So, if we were a white people, why did they depict us as Negroes with cornrows and short crop, curly Negro hair and big noses and lips? Why would they depict us as this if we were white? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Because Israel was never white. That's propaganda. That's all from what they call the Renaissance.
Right.
And what's under that, brother?
Says from the British Museum in London, the afro-haired men showed above are the ancient Israelites,
Good night.
known as the Hebrews. The image you are looking at is by the Assyrians, who destroyed Israel 3,000 years ago.
Wow.
As confirmed by the image, the Hebrews who wrote the Bible were black people. The Bible, among other things, tells the history of the Hebrews.
Comprehensive proof, man. But we're still led by propaganda.
Right.
You know, the brothers, the Commissions, wearing the unk. They want Kemet to rule. When the greatest people on earth, the people that were chosen by God, are us. They're not African. They're showing how we look, what we were. I can't do nothing. Let's close it out. Ain't nothing online or nothing like that.
La, sir.
Alright, we good, bro. Let's close it out. Right. Excellent. Black. Let's black. Right. Let's see. All right. Let's give it up to Priest Officer Kawan Palak for that excellent class on propaganda. And that's the problem. problem with our people now. You know, we got to get over this propaganda. We got to actually learn that who we really are. You understand? A lot of us think that Bible was written by white people when it was not. Just like the last slide showed that the Bible was written by black people. So we got to come back to our book and stop living by their book, living by their laws and statutes. You understand? That's the thing that puts us in iniquity with the Most High. And with that, we're going to read these security announcements. Security announcements. We are the ISUPK out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. When the new brother new rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They will be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the word. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from their head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from their head to marry, tithe, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8-10. Means 10th in the Hebrew and is pronounced ma'aisha. A tenth of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department. The priest fund, a free will offering for the priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give, up and coming holy convocation. What we got coming up? What's our things?
I don't know. I gotta look it up.
Feast of First Fruits. Feast of First Fruits.
Feast of First Fruits.
Memorial blowing of the trumpets. It's Monday, September the 6th. Oh, that's the old. It should be Memorial blowing of the trumpets, because we already did. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? For up-and-coming Holy Convocation, remind Akim and Aquafium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for other ISUPK events and material. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel, Ahmad Shabbat, Ahmad, Rock, Yahweh Shimmy Shabbat Thumb.
Yahweh Shimmy Shabbat Thumb.
God give him a top. Class dismissed.
Goddamn right.
ISUPK.
Trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed so packed, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm sitting by the prison man blues for this cop smoke.